YouTube first. Go live on that. Speedway Tavern.
Well, a lot has been said, and a lot has been written, but I think we should be careful of some of the accusations that have been flying around about the recent Nick Morris debacle. All we really know is the statement given by the SCB, and that really isn't giving too much away, and of course it shouldn't. We know that Nick Morris has 30 days to make his case, and I guess then we see. However, I am more concerned about the fact that we as supporters were not considered at all on that day last Wednesday. To leave Birmingham without their number one, half an hour before the tape's up, however, and therefore no chance of competing is in my eyes scandalous, and it didn't have to be that way. The rules need to be changed. Where have I heard that said before in Speedway? So that in future, a team in this predicament is allowed rider replacement. After all, if it then turns out that a facility should not be awarded, and Birmingham and Leicester have been allowed a facility, then these points can be deducted after the event, and at least the paying public will have had the chance to see some sort of a competitive meeting. By the way, it goes without saying that if proven guilty, the very large Speedway regulations book should be thrown in the direction of Mr. Morris, only in Speedway. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I heard myself again back then. What was going on?
Yeah, sorry. I keep forgetting to shut off.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think we've got a lot to talk about this week.
We have, certainly.
What do you think about that? That we should really have been allowed some sort of facility on the night. If it then turns out that you actually shouldn't have had that facility, they can take those points off you after the event.
Well, it was all sort of done very last minute, I think, because obviously you weren't there for obviously because of circumstances, but it was announced about 15 minutes before the riders came out for the parade that Nick Morris wasn't going to be unavailable for Birmingham, and that there was no facility.
I bet that went down well.
Well, you could. I mean, going into the meeting, I think there was a lot of optimism after that win against Berwick that Birmingham would have against a strong Glasgow team who've been in great form. Don't get me wrong. But I think there was, optimism that they could, maybe spring a surprise on Glasgow. But I just felt that Birmingham made a good fist of it in the early stages of the meeting, but in the end they just ran out of riders, and Glasgow sort of flattered Glasgow a tiny little bit.
We sort of ran out of Alfie Botel, really.
Did a little bit, yeah. But Glasgow in the end were able to sort of take advantage of that and come out really very, very comfortable winners. But obviously disappointing, and it's after working so hard to improve the team and make it more competitive, then it's sort of like one step forward and 3 steps back for Birmingham, and it's really unfortunate.
I mean, to sort of on a positive note, I have to agree with what Stuart Dixon says, which is, we've got to take the positives from that meeting.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of positives from that meeting. Sam Hagan got his first win.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
I think Paul Stark got better as the meeting went on, and he threw it about a bit.
Yeah, I like Paul Stark. I think the problem, of course, he's had is that he's just a little bit rusty, but you could see he was getting into the swing a bit more.
Yeah,
And I think, from what I was, hearing, talking before the meeting, he's really, really pleased to be back at Birmingham.
Good.
Because of the, obviously his last spell at the club ended sort of, with the infamous capitulation in 2014. But he's done well as a rider. He's always impressed me. He's certainly impressed me whenever I've seen him ride.
He's got a nice tidy style.
Nice tidy style, and a good lad as well. Always, I've spoken to Paul quite a few times. Really approachable guy. So. So that was disappointing for Birmingham, and I think really after the highs of the Berwick meeting and the performance sort of brought everyone back down to earth a little bit, and another big test tomorrow, of course, against the league champions,
which we will come on to. Yeah. I thought the big plus obviously was Alfie Botel at reserve.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit of a trump card, I think, for Birmingham. It's he's really sort of, I think he's really sort of developed into a crowd favourite, and at the moment he would, I don't think there's any dispute. At the moment he would be the rider of the year. He's sort of the one rider that's really has delivered in every single meeting so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully, hopefully he can sort of, galvanise some of the other riders, because it's going to be an important second half of the season for the club.
Also, from a personal point of view, a disappointment was I had to watch it on the stream.
Yeah.
And it wasn't great.
A few teething problems, I've heard.
Oh, it was I think the first 6 or 7 heats really. I couldn't watch more than 5 seconds at a time, and it would just stop. As I understand it, was over the whole of that network. There was problems with the pool match and some of the other matches that were going on. I do feel that there needs to be some sort of apology made. As far as I'm aware, there hasn't been an apology made either by the club or clubs or by the. I'm not asking for my money back because, well, that's just me. I'm not asking for my money back. I mean, if some people are asking for their money back, I think they should get it back.
Certainly away fans who would have not come down from Glasgow, should say, brought quite a lot down. I mean, there was a lot at Monmouth on the previous Monday for the match against Bellevue, and they were obviously on the way down to watch Glasgow at Plymouth.
Right.
I gather that as well that a lot of people got down to Plymouth on the Tuesday night and didn't realise it was off. It had been called off the day before.
Oh God, I didn't hear that. Wow.
Long old trip from Glasgow to Plymouth, and they didn't know it had been called off 24 hours earlier. So that was a bit of a disappointment.
Brian Buck says the sound needs to be increased. I'm not sure it possibly is. Is it his hearing aid that needs to be increased?
Don't even joke about that.
I have increased it, but I can't increase it anymore.
Right, we've got loads and loads of comments coming up. So do you want to just go through a few of them?
We've talked about that. We're going to talk about that anyway.
Yep.
There you go. You can carry on with that one if you like.
Craig Smith says, like any sport, if you fail to comply with the anti-sniping brigade, then immediate suspension. I don't think he means anti-sniping. I think he means anti-doping.
Yeah.
Then immediate suspension pending review. It does make it difficult for Birmingham at the moment. They can't call off the meeting in 30 minutes before the start time. Doesn't give them enough time to get a guest unless a rider lives a stone throw away from the track. We wouldn't have been able to have got. They didn't allow us a facility.
Yeah.
So even if there was a guest available, we wouldn't have been able to use it. RR is really the perfect. I think if we'd had RR, we could possibly have won that meeting, by the way. But that's my red and yellow rose-coloured glasses probably, but it would certainly have been a good meeting. I mean, it was a good meeting. There was some good racing.
Well, it certainly got better towards the end. I mean, Chris Harris was superb. Nobody was getting near him all night.
No.
It was, but it was always going to be a tough ask for Birmingham once that announcement was made.
So Dave Twines has arrived at the end of the parade with 2 newbies, and there it is.
That's the problem.
That's the problem,
Yeah.
there.
You've lost them there.
Yeah.
You've lost them.
Did not even know, been in Weatherspoon's programme in the bin. There it is right there.
Yeah.
Shoots itself in the foot time. No other sport would do that. Yes, if a footballer gets tested before a meeting, and gets, but they would be able to put. There's no problem about putting another footballer in. It might not be whoever, but it can happen. But we don't have that facility, and so we should have been given rider replacement. If after the match it turns out actually you shouldn't have had the rider replacement facility, then you can take the points away.
Yeah.
What's no foul? I mean, it's, to me, it's just stupid that wasn't.
It's neither club's fault, neither Birmingham's fault, nor Glasgow's fault. Ultimately, no, it's not Glasgow's fault either.
Or Leicester's fault.
They just took advantage of it.
We need to say that Leicester are caught up in this, and not their fault either.
Absolutely.
And I do think. I mean, I've said that we have to be careful about what we say. Obviously, we do have to be careful, but I think it's quite a strong statement from Stuart Dixon that he's already gone and replaced Nick Morris at Leicester. Mm-hmm. So make of you what you will on that one.
Absolutely.
David James, I hear Plymouth are struggling again with fans coming to meetings. That's because teams are doing streaming services.
I don't think you can blame streaming services for the demise of
I don't
gates.
think,
I mean, that's been going on for years, really. I don't think it helps.
David James, what you think of streaming services? Well, I think we've already sort of answered. I honestly think they're a great little source of income for the clubs.
It's a great idea, certainly for away fans.
Yeah.
I mean, we've said this before, and we can't really understand why a lot of these clubs didn't try and use this during the COVID time.
Exactly.
Because they could have possibly had a season in 2020, even if it didn't mean having fans in the stadium. They could have, streamed out.
Absolutely. Evening, chaps. A very frustrating night last night for both Wolves and Bellevue with shocking reffing. Well, I'm guessing we will come on to that.
Oh, definitely.
And and the stupid.
I'm interested to see which decision Dylan's talking about at Mumma last night. If he's talking about the one that I think he's talking about, so I've got to say I disagree with him because I thought it was the right decision. But I'll see whether
we'll come on to that. I'm sure. Yeah. What do you want to go? Let's go through. What decision are you talking about?
Well, first of all, I should say, well done, Peterborough, because they really should have won that meeting last night. They were the better team. They really did catch us cold, and that's the second week in a row now where
and I've got to say, as a Birmingham fan, well done, Lawrence Rogers.
Yeah, he played it really well. They certainly. I mean, obviously they've got a point out of the meeting, but they really deserve more. You look at how Peterborough have ridden all season, and you look at that performance last night. You think, how on earth have they only won one match this season? But everybody contributed to that performance. But fortunately, for the second week in a row, we managed to dig ourselves out of a hole and get the win.
In that stupid heat.
Well, it was all right last night because it benefited us. But the decision that I think the decision that possibly that caught a lot of people's eyes with the exclusion to exclude Rory Schlein in 87 now, I thought personally it was the right decision. I thought he just fell off on his own. He clearly wasn't very happy about it. I don't know whether we'll ever know about this, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a fine from the referee because he won heat number 11 and was making some gestures up at the referee, and then came around.
Was he waving like that?
Well, waving in a manner,
waving with less fingers than.
Yeah, and then came round on his lap of honour, basically doing this towards the box and saying, So I mean, if a Premier League player does that sort of thing to a referee, they get booked for dissent. So so it's
interesting.
But personally, I thought that if that's the decision that there might be another one that I've totally forgotten. Quite possible. I've been to sleep since then. But I thought that was the right decision myself.
Okay, so David James says get rid of streaming services, get people through turnstiles into stadium. I think I disagree with that, although I possibly would not have disagreed with it last year.
Yeah.
Having spoken to a few people at Birmingham, it hasn't affected the crowds and has generated more income, so make of that what you will. And Craig Smith says streaming for me should generate more money for clubs by it being reinvested into the clubs and sport. It suits away fans more than home fans. Well, that's sort of the point.
Yeah.
That's what you want. I mean, the Edinburgh match the couple of weeks ago, which was rained off, but I would never have been able to go to Edinburgh, but I was happy to watch the stream.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had time to go to Edinburgh. It was a work day night,
And it's a bit of a jaunt as well.
Exactly.
And it's a stream, it's an income that they wouldn't have had.
So they wouldn't have had that money off me.
Yeah, absolutely.
They shouldn't have had that money off me. I still haven't had, because it's very complicated to get your money back off them, and that's something they need to look at. Because and I mean, I wouldn't have had the money back. I would have just watched Next Time Birmingham Road there, but it was really complicated, and
I know BSN
I didn't have the time.
I know BSN had a few problems last year. I think it might have been in Edinburgh, the Edinburgh Birmingham match last year, when BSN had loads of problems, and they ended up, the day after reimbursing everybody who'd bought the stream. So
I should finish Craig's comment off. Really, I think personally there could be a facility where the streams wouldn't work if you live a certain mile radius from stadium to encourage people to attend in person. I think that's been tried. I don't know why it was, but I think there's a couple of clubs tried that, and now they don't do that, so I don't know the reason. But let's be honest,
there is a situation as well where you might have some home fans who, for whatever reason,
can't
get there.
Yeah, well, my dad would be a case in point.
How about a discount for people who do live in a short radius?
And also, I mean, you would know how to do this, and I know how to do this. I bet you know how to do this. I can bypass that. That whole thing. It's not difficult. No. It's really not difficult. I'm not telling you how to do it, but it's not difficult.
There's a lot of placement feeling you cover.
Dylan says, with regards to the stream last week, the streaming company have offered a part refund of $6.99, or they have comped tomorrow night's meeting, which has carried over on Brummie's TV. There you go.
Yeah.
Dylan says, sorry, my RR wouldn't have scored 17 points. So didn't have to score 17 points. He doesn't have to work it out. He doesn't have. They didn't.
Personally, I still think Glasgow would have had too much. I think it would have been a lot closer, but I think Glasgow just had
it would have given us the opportunity to use Alfie Botel a little bit more.
Yeah.
In place of, for instance, who had a really bad meeting. There was I can't remember now, Stefan Nielsen. He could have taken one of his rides, for instance, instead of taking one. So it probably wouldn't have, but it certainly didn't. Would have made it a very
didn't
more
give Birmingham
competitive.
enough of a chance to. I mean, as we said, they made a good fist of it in the early part of the meeting, but in the end, they just ran out of steam and ran out of riders. So
okay, shall we continue?
Yep.
Oh, hello. What's going
on? There's quite a few.
There's quite a few there, if you stop, I might get one of them. Unbelievable, the ref at Bellevue last evening. If you move too... Yeah,
I've heard stuff about this. I haven't seen this meeting yet. So
yeah, there was no movement.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of movement before the tapes went up, but when the tapes went up, everybody was... and they all went bang at the same time. And... the only thing I will say in defence of the referees, he's got a split second to make that decision, whether it was, and if he sees something out of the corner of his eye, it was wrong though.
Yeah.
Ben Clifton says, when Steve Boxall refused a drug test, possibly 2018, he was thrown out of the meeting and no rider was allowed in 3 of his 4 programmed rides, so actually Birmingham weren't too badly done. Yeah, they was. And you know what? You're missing the point, to be honest. It's not about Birmingham being too badly done. It's about the supporters being too badly done.
Yeah, supporters who've paid money to get in.
That's the problem. And you just heard about 2 newbies that turned up and they ain't never going to come back. And that's an opportunity missed. That's the problem. Not Birmingham boo-hoo. It's the fans. We're the ones that are hard done by, and it would not happen in any other sport. Not that like that. Not any other team sport, I should probably say. No. It just wouldn't. So I don't care whether Birmingham were or weren't done badly. The fans were done badly, and that's, for me, is more important in this time than we're trying our hardest to get more people through the turnstiles. Yep. So make of that what you will. If you disagree, please put it up.
Please tell him.
Yeah. Because these 2 will. Okay, any more?
Yeah, there's hundreds.
Streaming is the way forward, whether we like it or not. Yep. I agree. I might be wrong there. Unbelievable, the ref at Bellevue. We've done that one.
Oh, sorry.
The first of Basso wiping Rory, the one of Basso wiping Rory out, I was stood behind you, Matt, and I could see Dirty Ben take Rory's wheel. Yeah. Basso was lucky Rory didn't chin him, to be honest.
No, I don't agree.
Okay.
Personally, my opinion, but I just thought.
Yeah. Well, it's all about opinions.
He was hard on him, Basso. Don't get me wrong, but I thought Rory sort of bailed out a little bit,
Right.
to be honest. But that's just me. So I don't want to come across as being biased. So
Dylan
not
says,
too much anyway.
Dylan says goodbye to Wolves, Peterborough next season, maybe Poole after 2024. Yeah, I think there's going to be lots to be said about that. I think we might be having a close season. Obituary. I hope not.
Let's hope not. No.
Have you heard any more? Have you heard anything else?
I have, but I'm not saying anything.
Okay. Is it good news or bad news?
I'm not saying that either.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Are you smiling or frowning?
Not doing
Let's
that
get
either.
close.
Star of poker face.
There we go.
Yeah. I've been absolutely sworn to secrecy in what I've been told. So
Simon says, massive Wolves run next year, new faces needed, riders are getting stale.
I think that's the big if, isn't it? If run next year. I wouldn't be totally surprised if there is, because there's a few riders who've been there for. Normally, the Wolves promotion like to shake it up after about 4 or 5 seasons, but I suppose a lot of it is. I mean, the most important thing is if we can get on the track for next year.
Absolutely.
I think really at this stage of the season, it's either run at Monmore Green or not run next year. There's not going to be any chance to get a news track ready, even if they started work at this minute. You wouldn't get it ready for next year.
You say that, but Perry Bar, the 2000 season, I don't think they started work on that until I think it was after Christmas.
Yeah, but the stadium was already there, wasn't it?
That's true.
Yeah.
The facilities, this will be completely started from scratch. So
Ben Clifton's asking, would it be possible to come on the show in a couple of weeks to plug his sponsored walk from Kent to the Speedway GP at Cardiff, raising money for...
Absolutely, yeah.
No way.
That's you, innit?
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course it
Yeah.
Not a problem, mate. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Just let us know when you want to come on. And I think I'm doing my hair that day, but yeah, okay.
Or Kermany.
Never. Andrew Garner, if you looked at the camera view from the inside shot before the tapes went up, you could see Wright's front wheel move in heat 15.
I haven't seen that meeting back yet, but I've seen a lot of comments about it, so I'll watch that one with interest later in the week.
I mean, they all try to get away with it. It's almost human nature.
Yep.
Well, there is so many comments, but we do need to talk about the GP, and it's already 8:20. But
Where's the show gone? I know. It's very, very
if you looked at the camera, I've read that bit. Okay, Edinburgh do that within a certain radius. I spoke with Nigel about the idea, and he said it was looked at, but was difficult to implement. Yeah, for reasons that I've said. Alfie had his 7 rides. He couldn't have taken any more. Batch was solid, but Sedgy, Starkey and Steph were... Yeah, but you're missing the point. He would have been able to have his 7 rides in different positions, and other riders would have been able to have taken Nick Morris's rides. Yeah. Everybody would have been allowed to have taken one of Nick Morris's rides. So it's not a like for like. So, yeah. Scotty said could have been vibration. Jeff Daniels, I agree with Mike's sentiment on the Morris situation. Unfair on fans and Birmingham on the night.
Yeah. I'm going to totally agree with that one.
And, and at the end of the day, if it was then decided, well, you shouldn't have had the facility, you can have the points taken off. It's happened to Birmingham before.
Yeah.
It didn't need to have happened, and it could be more a sense with the fans. Right, we'll show them. Yeah. Than we're out. That's it. And people leaving and new people leaving and going, well, I'm going there again. It's bloody stupid.
That's the problem.
Dylan says, a cheeky plug for next Friday night streaming event at Goals of Scunny versus Brum. Also, dig deep tomorrow night at Perry Bar with the Ben Fund collection taking place.
So he's asking for favours after he's criticised our opinions.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
And we're happy to... Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Because somebody once said to me that they won't come on the show because they thought I'd have a go at them. I don't think if I disagree with you, I say that I disagree with you.
Yeah.
And then you tell me how stupid I've been and we carry on. But that's it. It's what it's all about, opinions.
You've just reminded me something that I didn't want to say as well. Is it? It's 14 years since the Speedway Tavern
Something of that type.
Obviously, I started 10 years ago. You were obviously from the start, but I think many of us have sort of been inspired by people to do this sort of thing, and one inspirational figure in the Midlands, without any shadow of a doubt, was Tony Butler.
Yes,
who was sadly passed away over the weekend at the age of 88. It's fair to say he was generally known as being a bolshy, argumentative presenter on football phone-ins on BRMB and WM, but he had a vast knowledge of a lot of sports, and one of them was Speedway. I was lucky enough to meet him at the Elite League Riders Championship in 2008, because at the time, obviously, I was working for Walsall Hospital Radio, and we were doing the match reports from there, and I was sitting in my normal seat in the press box, and somebody came and sat beside me, and it was hello, my boy, Tony Butler.
Yeah.
It was great to meet him, and I had quite a long chat with him, and he was was very encouraging what I was doing at Walsall. We wish me luck for the future, and a great fella, and sadly missed. Rest in peace, Tony.
I mean, somebody I would have liked to have met, and I understand from people that have met him that he was actually a really nice chap, bit opinionated on the mic.
Yeah.
But that
was
what's wrong with that? That was his style, and that was you look at some
broadcast style, and he used that really to
he knew what he was doing,
in a nice sort of way to provoke people into coming on and so forth. And he did invent the phone-in.
Yeah. I think he was also beyond the inventing of the 7-second delay, wasn't he?
He was, I heard that. Yeah, with
so
the swearing.
The producer had to listen to it for 7 seconds, and had 7 seconds to take anybody out that had a go at him, and it was quite a few, wasn't it? So.
Yeah, so
I just wanted to say it.
Absolutely,
it was important to say that, because this was a man who who knew who was who liked his speedway as well. So
definitely.
I'm going to come to Simon Corbett. Move a little bit onto the GPs. Nobody's commented on GP Lambert letting Bewley through for a point to make the semis. I know. I thought that's what I thought he did. Did you think that's what he did?
No, I didn't think it at the time, but having seen it back.
Mm-hmm. You're not sure?
Not sure now. At the end of the day, only they know what happened, don't they? So
the difference between that and what happened with Pennell, by the way, was Pennell was busy doing wheelies at the back, making it absolutely.
A lot of riders have done it in the past, but they've sort of made it look good, haven't they? Pennell made it too obvious, which sort of lost him a lot of
support in this country.
I always think, you watch the clip of the three riders. Dave Jessup, Kenny Carter, and Bruce Pennell on the.
Go back the other direction a bit? I wanted to
on the parade at the end of it, and you saw the Pennell getting booed, and you can see the big grin on Carter's face. Now, was he happy because he got through, or was he happy because his great nemesis was
probably a bit of both?
Probably a bit of both.
So Dylan, you can't put that up and then just leave it at that. So he's put some very interesting thoughts I've heard around Perry Bar for next season. It'll be interesting to see the reaction if it's proven to be right. Oh, you can't do that.
No. It's very busy tonight on this little showbox.
You can go down a little bit. I think we need to. I think we need to talk about the GP.
We do.
There's still loads of stuff about this, but
we'll come back to the comments anyway.
Yeah, and obviously we've got the World Cup squads to look through as well at some point.
We have to say first of all,
plenty to do.
Yeah. We have to say well done to Dan Bewley.
Well done to Dan Bewley, but what on earth was Martin Vashlik doing in that final? I mean, he had that one.
He did.
He just felt, he just looked like he just switched off.
I think he did. I think he thought, this is mine. I was getting ready to celebrate, I think.
Yeah. But thankfully, of course, both riders got up and walked away after that final, after the first running of the final. Really nasty clash with Vashlik and Freddie Lindgren. Really tough on Freddie as well, because he'd looked really, really good on ice and looked probably the favourite to win in front of his own fans.
He should have been excluded. It wasn't his fault that it was his fault. If it makes any sense.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I think it was a sort of move. If that had been done like someone like Nicky Pedersen, there would have been absolutely.
It wasn't just that he went. But it was because the guy in front. There was just a mismatch of speed. He sort of locked up and was. It just
happens occasionally. Both got up and walked. Well, the good thing is, of course, is they had a chat afterwards and they shook hands. I mean, they get on well anyway, by all accounts, Martin and Freddie. So it was good to see that. But really, that would have been great for the championship if Freddie had won that. Particularly, of course, with Smarsley not making the final.
But you feel that Dan Bewley was due one.
He was, yeah. I mean, he had a tough week, of course. Obviously, he had that nasty crash at Monmouth last week, which sort of put him out of the meeting. And then I think he struggled at Ipswich on Thursday, and then to sort of pull that out of the bag and win it on Saturday was terrific. I mean, the big shot for me probably was Jason Doyle, just 1 point, and he's really. I mean, his form recently for Ipswich has gone. Right
I was watching it yesterday, and it was
really
not great.
Because he's really had a good start to the season and been very unlucky not to have won at least a couple of Grand Prix, but he's suddenly just completely gone off the boil in recent weeks. Leon Madsen as well, he only scored 3 points. I mean, he would have been coming off the back of a really impressive time in Gorsov with second place. You thought he would have built on that, but not to be.
Robert Lambert was his usual sort of steady self, I think.
Yeah, very, very steady. Obviously, he's 8th now. Of course, it's the top 6 that get through, I think, to the next season. So he's still got a little bit of work to do. But certainly at the moment, you'd have to say the British interest looks predominantly to be on Bewley and Lambert. And another tough night for Ty Woofington. Just 5 points, and already now the gap between him and the tops and the top 6 is enormous.
Yeah, I mean, it's. Can't see him being in next year unless he gets some sort of wild card. And
well, I think he's going to have to rely on a big. But the problem, of course, is if you've got Bewley and Lambert in, are they going to want to put another British rider in?
You can't see it. You can't see it.
And Ty hasn't won a Grand Prix now for 5 years. He hasn't won a World Championship for 5 years. So
he's not showing any sort of
time is not his side at the moment.
Yeah.
Which is possibly why he's entertaining thoughts about coming back to racing in the UK next year, because maybe he knows that he's not guaranteed to be in the GPs in 2024.
It'd be good to see him over here.
It would be. Great to see him. It'd be great to see him running for us, because that will obviously mean we're running next year.
Yes, absolutely. Has Matt seen the statement from Paris International? Andrew Garner asks.
Yep, of course. Dave Parry, of course, who's been main team sponsor at Wolves since 2001. Maybe looking to finish at Paris International, of course, and obviously I think that's their 50th year this year. So that would obviously be a big blow for Wolves, of course, who main team sponsor for the last 20, 22 years, finishing. So that's something else to sort of keep an eye on at the moment.
Yeah,
been a good servant, been a good supporter of the club, really, Dave, over the years.
Yep, absolutely. The Emil Saifutinov question's been answered by Rich, so we won't go into that. World Cup.
Yes, it's
coming
almost
up
here, not too far away.
And they've picked a squad. I don't know why they do that, to be honest, but they've picked a squad.
Well, let's have a look at the Britain squad.
Yep.
So you've got Ty Woofington as captain, Robert Lambert, Dan Bewley, Tom Brennan, Adam Ellis, Chris Harris, Anders Rowe, and Steve Worrell.
Yeah, I mean, all riders that we've mentioned over the past couple of weeks.
I think Charles Wright's been lucky not to be in that squad, to be honest. I would have probably had him over Adam Ellis, to be fair. I'm not convinced about Adam Ellis at that level yet.
Not this year, certainly. Yeah. He's not had the best of season, has he?
Yeah. I think four of them picked themselves, don't they? Woofington, Lambert, Bewley, and Brennan. They were pretty much shoo-ins, but it was who's going to get that last pick. I mean, Bomber, could he be in there? I mean, obviously
he's had a good
he's had a good season,
and winning the world long track at the moment as well.
Yeah.
Showing it, I mean, and his form at Perry Bar last week.
I think outside Poland, I don't think there's really anything to fear in that World Cup at the moment. I mean, Poland are obviously going to be favourites because of the depth of talent they've got in their squad. Australia, I think, are going to be a bit of a danger as well. They've got a lot of solid, good riders that we know about in this country in there. So, but certainly, I think we should be looking at least at getting a medal. It's going to be whether they can sort of take it to Poland. Of course, they're going to have home advantage as well. So
yeah, and they'll do what they normally do: have practice and then alter the track. But whoops, did I say that? We've remembered you. It's this YouTube. We remembered YouTube today.
Completely forgot. I did, to be honest. Sorry, Darren, Duncan, and Robert.
Darren Reynolds, hi chaps, great show. In the summer holidays, kids get 6 weeks off. Every track has a centre green. Set up a cycle speedway track for the kids to race on the same night as race nights. I can see where you're coming from with that. However, there is a problem, isn't there? Injuries, people getting it's the club could be liable and stuff. So I've often thought that's something. And these new Revit bikes that have been going around Perry Bar recently are great. You could do something with them, but I think
it's a good way of getting kids sort of involved as well.
Involved, yeah.
Wanting to do that, so.
Just think you've got to be a bit careful on the old public liability.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that might be what's going on there. Duncan Pemberton, first time listening live for a while, is usually racing the online Speedway League matches on the SC23 game on a Tuesday night. 8, however, we couldn't field 7 riders tonight. Sound familiar?
That's a bit.
I think you should get priorities right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Every week, commentators say tracks will come good after halfway through. Meetings need to be good at the beginning of meetings. Paying customers being shortchanged again. Speedway tracks evolve. They always will. Yep. If you have them really good at the beginning of the meeting, I promise you they won't be good at the end of the meeting. It's just...
Should say congratulations as well to Conley Bardi, obviously, with these results at
the under-21, yeah.
21s, and by all accounts, I mean, I didn't see it, but by all accounts, a really, really good meeting.
And a last to first in the final.
So, yeah. So it does show that we have got the young talent that's now starting to emerge through that route. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of talking about Jason Dorr having 6 rides the other night, which is allowed because he had a tactical sub and is obviously in Heat 15, so that it is allowed. All this talk about, Ben Clifton, about what facility Birmingham should have had seems to have overshadowed the bigger fact that potentially we still have a problem with drugs in the sport. It's almost been totally ignored. Well, I don't think it's been ignored because
Speedway is one of the sports I think that clamps down on it more than any other one, really.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't allowed to ride. Yeah. Full stop. That's clamped down. We're not talking about it as such because we don't know the ins and outs.
We don't know the full details.
So we can only wait and see, I guess. I'm not going to throw accusations around. I mean, I've already said that if he is found guilty, then the book should be thrown at him.
Yeah,
that's it. If you notice, Bewley made the exact same bend in the final, so perhaps Bewley knew he could get Vaclik in the same place.
It was almost a Carlson corridor move, that wasn't it? So,
Emil Saifutinov is riding so fast this season. Hopefully in GPs next season, could he get a wild card pick? Still a ban on the Russians, isn't there?
Yeah.
Although is he riding? He's not riding under a Russian licence anymore, is he?
No, he isn't. He's riding under a Polish licence, I believe. So, but I mean, he's been superb for Ipswich this season. I think he's exceeded a lot of people's expectations. There's been
people like him. I mean, I think I was watching the match at Ipswich the other day, and I forgot who it was against now, but the supporters from both teams were applauding him because he was just.
The guy's a phenomenal talent. He's, to me, he's one of the best riders that hasn't won the World Championship yet. So it would be great to see him back racing in the GPs because he's certainly good enough to be competitive at that level. And the same, obviously, with Artem Ligota as well.
Dylan says, I honestly thought that off on Saturday was the one that Bartek had been so close to for so long. Could have been much worse. Lucky lad. Also for Anders, that exclusion for day 2 coming down was shocking.
Yeah, that was a bad decision. I couldn't believe that decision when that was made. So
Woffy will get a pick because he's a 3 times world champion, although I'm not convinced he deserves one. I'm not sure.
The last of those 3 titles though was 5 years ago. That's the thing that he hasn't really looked like winning a Grand Prix in that period of time. I don't think so.
Fred Graham says the British Under-21 final was a wonderful advert for our young talent. Was there to enjoy it, but it also came across very well on the BSN coverage. So there you go. Interesting to see in the Wolves Progi. Ben Parker was listed as Peterborough guest last night. For some reason, it was changed to Connor Mountain.
Do you know what? I think if they'd have had Hans Andersen last night, Peterborough probably would have won that meeting.
Well, you reckon they should have won it anyway? But
they should have won it. They should have won it, yeah. And as I say, well done to them. How are they bottom of the league if they've rolling like that?
We should continue our talk about the World Cup.
Yep.
Who are the danger men? So we've got Australia are always.
Australia are going to be in there, of course. Poland, obviously. Cernek, Drabic, Dudek, Janowski, Kolodze, Kabera, Pavlicki brothers, Wozniak,
Dudek was looking a bit more like his own self.
Very well.
Yeah.
I like Patrick Dudek. I think he's underachieved for me at the top level. Then you got Sweden. You got obviously Freddie Lindgren, Jakob Torsal, Philip Helmland, Berntsen, Nilsson, Antonio Limbach still going, of course. Hellstrom Banks, Polavora, Daniel Henderson, and Anton Carlson. Czech Republic, you got Milic, Kovic, Kramar, Schubach, Kilmer, Heinrich Steckauer, of course, former Wolves man. Josef Frank, very experienced rider, of course.
Yep.
Was at Bury for quite a few years. Kamniak, Vasniak, and Jensek. So on the big fast Polish tracks, they could certainly be spoilers.
We're in a position now that we've not been for a while as Team GB of having riders that do ride out in Poland, have experience of those tracks.
Then you've got the Germans. You've got Martin Smolinski, of course, who's known in this area, obviously, with his Birmingham days, his Coventry days. Kevin Volbert, Kai Huckenbeck, Nonit Bladorn, Michael Hartel, Eric Riss, Marius Hilbrand, Sandro Wasserman, René Dedens, and Henrik Backhuber. So they've got some experienced riders in that team, in the German team, and they'll certainly be giving it all. Australia, you've got Ryan Douglas, Jason Doyle, Max Frick, Chris Holder, Jack Holder, Brady Kurtz, Jarman Lidsey, Sam Masters, Kenyon Rue, Rowan Tungate.
Not a bad squad, is it?
No, it certainly isn't. Leon Madsen, obviously the Denmark team. Leon Madsen, Mikkel Mikkelsen, Anders Thompson, Nicky Pedersen. Nice that Nicky's picked himself as the manager, of course. Rasmus Jensen, Michael Jepsen Jensen, Maddie Hansen, Frederick Jakobsen, Nikolai Klint, Andreas Liger Hansen. They could be spoilers as well. Denmark, you can never rule the Danes out. They've been the masters of that competition for so long, weren't they? Finland, Timo Lahti, Jesse Munston, Antti Volas, Timi Salonen, Nis Sario, Tero Aranio, Ronny Niemelalle, Joni Laikonen, Henry Album, and Topi.
Finland have a sort of habit of performing in this competition.
Yeah, they've got of course they've got riders that we know, of course, obviously in this country. Timo Lahti, of course, Tero Aranio, of course, known for his short spell at Birmingham, was quite a popular figure at Birmingham wasn't he?
He was.
And really, I think that the rank outsides obviously are going to be France, aren't they? David Balago, Dimitri Birch, Mathieu Tresario, Stephen Correa, Mathieu Tresario, and Joran Doland and Tino Boer. And apologies if I've got some of these names wrong, by the way.
Yeah, I was about to say apologies for the.
My French is not. My French hasn't been great since school, to be honest. It wasn't great then, really, but. It's going to be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to seeing the World Cup back. It's been missed, I think. I like the fact now that it's every 3 years, not every year, because there's some sort of thing that you can use to
generate interest. Yeah, absolutely.
Alternate between that and the Speedway Nations as well. So, but it all starts on the 25th of July, which is a Tuesday. You've got Great Britain, Sweden, Czech Republic, and Germany in semi-final 1, and then semi-final 2 the day after. Australia, Denmark, Finland and France, and there's a race-off on the Friday, and then of course the final on the Saturday, which Poland are already seeded into.
Lots and lots of Speedway. My girlfriend's not going to be happy. So hey ho. Simon Corbett's picking Australia, Poland, Denmark and presumed GP as the
fourth one.
I think we asked who are their main rivals, so I imagine that's what he's doing there. Okay, I think we've caught up with all the comments finally.
I think we need to get on to our prediction league, don't we, really? We've only got 15 minutes. We've sort of filled it up a little bit this week, haven't we?
Yeah.
Well, some of us have.
Once again, Mike's doing absolutely shocking.
Sugar.
Absolutely shocking. You're
next
so
year,
far down, I can barely see you.
Next year's going to be my year. Next year's going to be... So all this says that my opinions count for nothing.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So at the top we've got Andrew Garner, John Bird, Simon Corbett,
Rich Thomas,
you take over because
Gordon Gambrell, Duncan Pemberton, Steve Morgan, Ben Clifton, Elliot Hunt, Nick Matthews, Julie Turner, Kev Lilly, John Turner, and then it's the father and son combination. Unfortunately, the father's ahead of me at the moment. And then you've got Webby's down in 20th and GA, 23rd. What can we say?
23rd. Oh, you've got notice.
You got a result right. You got a result right last week though, so things are starting to look up. So
maybe.
Yeah, but only 1 point in it between the top four, I think. So
yeah,
and you certainly can't rule that man out, can you, Simon? Had a really bad start, but he's right up there now, isn't he? So
he's a coming. He's a coming for you.
Right. Well, shall we?
Shall
we get on to? I mean, yeah. I'm trying to remember whose turn it is now to go first.
It's not mine because I was last time.
I think it's me then.
Go on then. First match is tomorrow's match at Perry Bar. That's Birmingham.
Of course it is.
Against Poole.
Okay. See, I actually think we can pull off a shock tomorrow. It's going to be hard, so I'm going to say Birmingham by 4 points.
Put that pen away.
That was me dropping the pen, I think. So.
Okay, so, yeah, it's up to you.
Yeah, I've gone Poole by 10.
I'll go Poole.
We'll have words later.
I'll go Poole by 14.
Oh, out there then.
Poole by 14?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's typical Brummie, that is, isn't it, sir? Ever the pessimist, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Naturally dour.
Next one is Oxford against Glasgow. That'll be an interesting one.
It will, won't it? That's down to you.
I've gone Oxford by 12 on that.
Oxford by 10.
I'll say Oxford by 12 as well.
Okay, then we got the War of the Roses on Thursday in the Premiership, Sheffield against Bellevue.
That's up to me, isn't it?
Yep.
Bellevue by 6.
You know what I'm thinking, don't you?
I think you're thinking the same as me.
I'm going to go for a draw.
That's what I've gone for. That's a super heat. Mm-hmm. Okay. Next up is Kings Lynn against Leicester. Should say as well, pleased to see Kings Lynn have managed to resume their season after
Absolutely. That's another thing that happened while we was closed. We're never closing again. No. It's too much rubbish going on. But you got it's up to me, isn't it? You got to say Leicester by 10, haven't you?
I've gone the same. Leicester by 10.
I'll go Leicester by 14. That's my new number this week. 14.
Okay. Ipswich against Peterborough is next up. And Lawrence Rogers maintained his excellent style as Peterborough manager. Temporary Peterborough manager, we should say. So.
Everything's temporary at Peterborough at the moment, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's temporary in Speedway,
you've got to say that Ipswich...
They haven't been...
They've been very close on so many meetings, but just not getting over the line.
When they lost to Superheat, didn't they?
A stupid heat.
Yeah. I thought the idea of having Dawn and Saifood enough was that they'd be fine in the Superheats, but it hasn't gone that way, has it? So
it's up to you anyway.
I've gone Ipswich by 12 on that one.
I'll go Ipswich by... I'm not going to say 14 again. By 8.
I'm going to say Ipswich by 10.
I wouldn't be surprised if Peter would get close to Ipswich on...
Well, that's certainly...
On the basis of how they performed on Monday, certainly. So, next up is Redcar against Scunthorpe in the Championship.
And that's up to you, Chris.
Redcar... Oh, sorry.
I'll go Redcar by... See, you gave it away there, Matt. I'm just going to try and look at your poker face. Redcar by 10.
Redcar by 12.
Redcar by 14.
Oh, I was going to say 14. Can't believe it.
Okay, next up in the NDL is Bellevue against Edinburgh.
It's up to Mike, isn't it?
Edinburgh by 4. Need to claw some points back.
I've gone Bellevue by 20 on that.
I'll go Bellevue by 16.
Okay. Second leg of the BSN Series final, Glasgow against Poole.
That's up to you.
I've gone Poole by 4.
I'll go Poole by 10.
Poole by 2.
Okay. And then back in the championship, Berwick against Edinburgh on Saturday night.
It's
It's up to you.
Berwick by 6.
Berwick by 16.
That's my go. But
Oh, that's mine go, actually. Oh, you should have shouted up. So.
Berwick by 10. Okay.
Okay, NDL, Kent against Leicester.
That's up to me. I'm going to say Kent by 6.
Leicester by 10.
Leicester by 4.
Okay.
So I'm going to pull some points back here, lads.
You're going to really bomb.
Or you're going to drop off that table, so you'll be unclassified at this, right? So.
You'll be in the NDL.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is, what do we call this one? Peterborough against Kings Lynn.
Well, and that's up to you, Matt.
Peterborough by 10.
Peterborough by 14.
I'm going to say Peterborough by 10 as well.
Okay. And last but by no means least, on Monday, Sheffield against Wolves.
I think it is least.
That's
up to you, yeah.
Me, isn't it? Let's go for a Wolves win. Wolves by 6.
Sheffield by 10.
I've gone Sheffield by 14. That's confidence for you.
Yeah.
Okay, and that concludes our score. So everybody else get your scores up on the feed or on the Facebook page, which we put on yesterday. So,
Right. So we've had a lot of discussion tonight about whether Birmingham should have been awarded a facility, and some of the things that have been said, and I've seen said, is that they shouldn't because that's the rules. And I agree with that. You have to follow the rules, and it's happened to other teams and they've not. But my argument is that the rules have been shown to be bad for the image of Speedway. Not in the best interests of Speedway, to use a term that they like to use a lot. So I'd love to do a straw poll by people that are listening now. Should the rules be changed so that a facility is allowed, a rider replacement facility? It's not a perfect facility by any means, particularly when you're losing your number one. But should that actually and I'm talking from the point of view of the best interests of Speedway and paying fans coming through the door. So just give us a yes or no, guys, on that one, and we'll do a quick straw poll.
Well, I think back to when Samo Malenko had his ban in '87 when he. This wasn't down to failing a test or missing a test. This was a genuine oversight from Sam. I think it was a test match at Hackney, which he'd been selected to give a drugs test, and it got abandoned. And there was a lot of commotion in the pits, and in the confusion, he forgot. And I think he drove out the stadium, and about 20 minutes after he'd driven out the stadium, suddenly remembered he had to go give the test, and it was too late to turn back. So I think he phoned the Speedo Control Bureau up first thing in the morning and said, "I'll come down now and I'll take the test." And They banned him for it, and they tried to ban him for, I think it was 2 years, which was an outrageous overreaction. And in the end, there was an appeal against it, and Sam lost. Sam to this day is still very bitter about it because he mucked up really 2 years of his career, with paying all the legal fees and clearing his name. But he did manage to clear his name, and in the end, they did rewrite the rules because they said it was no fault of Sam's. It was the way that the rules had been written. So there is previous for rewriting a rule that doesn't make any sense. So whether that might be the case in this situation, we don't know. So
most people are coming yes so far, but by no means all of them. I'm just not Simon. I don't quite understand what he says. No guests.
Rider replacement, not a guest. Is that mean?
Is that what you mean, or do you mean RR no, but guests? I'd tell you if you could clear that up for us, that'd be cool.
I suppose you could. I suppose you could. If every team had a nominated number 8, they could promote the number 8 into the team and move everybody up. But of course, it does weaken the home team. But
yeah, for no, again, it's
or the away team if it's an away team.
I don't care whether it weakens the home team, the away team. That's not my point, though, is it? It's bad for supporters. It's bad for. And again, I would say not in the best interests of the sport, and that wouldn't help in that situation. I don't think. But so. Yes or no?
Fred Graham's gone no. Jeff's gone yes.
I want your opinion. Your opinion. Yes or no? Should
yes?
Yeah, in your opinion.
I'd say yes as well.
Yeah. Okay. So
Defo agree. Facility should be granted. Says Jeff. Yes. Yeah, there's quite a few yeses.
Fred says. Yes. Fred Graham says no. Would you want to expand on the reason why you think?
Well,
no?
He doesn't have to expand if he doesn't want to, because I didn't ask for that. But yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
But I mean, if you want to expand, by all means do. It was not the club's fault, it was not the supporters' fault, it was the riders' fault. So why?
It's a fair point.
Yeah. And
Simon's come back with just RR.
So that's what that account. So yeah, I mean, that's, to be honest, that's the only thing that you could do, given if it's half an hour before, which it's always going to be in that sort of a situation. It should be called a temporary rider replacement. How about that? Facility of a temporary rider replacement, so that you know that it could be taken off you if they decide actually you shouldn't have had a facility for that. But given that they've now allowed Birmingham and Leicester, I know Leicester has signed a replacement rider now, but they gave us that facility, then it should have been. They should have had the facility. There's no, it's.
Is it because it was all? Is it because it was all done all lastminute.com and they're instead of flicking through all
and they have,
regulations?
As far as I can tell, they have followed the letter of the law, the letter of the regulations. I can't fault them for that.
But is it just the law itself?
The law itself should be changed.
And this is why Speedway won't attract more supporters. A newbie listening to this will be going,
what?
Yes.
What the? Can't you just go around a track on a bike and race each other? For God's sake!
I think this might be another thing for Phil Morris to put on his little black book for reviewing.
Yeah. Madness.
Fred Graham says, I think the rule is not great, but until the rule... Well, so actually you're agreeing with us, because that was my question. My question was, should the rule be changed? So to allow RR, so it would seem that you're agreeing with us there, Fred. Yes, you should follow the rules that are set out. Too many times we've seen that not happen, and I'm not faulting them for following the rules. I'm just saying this has highlighted that these rules are wrong from the point of view, as I say, of a fan sitting there on the terrace, or a new person coming in, as has happened, we've found out, and they've gone, well, this is stupid. I'm off to Weatherspoons.
Yeah, and I'm coming out.
If you can't compete with Weatherspoons, what chance have you got?
I'm going to go and watch the Dominoes on Sky.
Dave Trine says he rode in Poland 5 days earlier. The Pulse don't do checks, but they're random, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're random. You couldn't check every person at every match. It would be the cost would be prohibitive. It probably even for...
Well, to be fair, if there's 14 riders if it's a team meeting and there's 14 riders, it's you know that you've got with one in 14 chance of getting picked, because it's usually is it usually 3 riders at random that they pick?
Yeah,
3 of the 14, so you've got a pretty high chance of being picked. To be fair,
absolutely.
So.
Simon Corbett says Brum will be better off with guests away. Should only be RR all the time. You see, you can't cover your number 1 rider with RR. Under any circumstances, if you lose your number 1 rider, it's always been a guest.
I just think Birmingham fans are sick to side now of guests, aren't they? They just want to see 7 riders of their own in their own team.
Yeah, good.
But who, so it'd be nice to sign somebody, but who would you sign? There's nobody. I can't think of anybody.
It has to be a newcomer, wouldn't it?
That's your number 1.
Yeah. So that's just too much of a gamble, isn't it? So.
And it's time to say goodbye.
Oh, good God.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Okay. Well, that was a lively show. I was thinking of booking a guest to interview this week, but I thought so much to talk about, we probably wouldn't do it. I think I made the right decision.
Yeah. You obviously weren't going to pick Nick Morris, were you, sir?
No. And to be fair, I don't think he would be allowed to talk about
Probably
this.
not, to be fair. So
I mean, one thing I should say, there was a lot of criticism, and I think unfair criticism, aimed at Birmingham, saying that they should have said more, they should have said, and earlier.
they were probably restricted.
They
what
were
they
not
could
allowed
say.
to. They would not have been allowed to. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
They would have had to wait for the SCB. And even now, they're not going to be allowed to say any more than they've said. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Dave's fine. No, we can't have superheat time.
I like superheats now. So I didn't like them a few weeks ago, but I like them now. So.
Until the next time. Thank you once again. Without you guys, this show would not work. Everybody enjoy your Speedway this week. And come on the Brummies.
Good night.